one side of the hose. The other side leads here, the bottom of the water heater pan. It's filling up with water, and in my case, I took off the panel here and took off this panel and found that the bottom of the tank, where the flue goes up through the middle, there's a round part, it's leaking from up in there. So I will, at the bottom of this, there will be another video that shows you all the different places it can leak. Here, up here, up on top. But I found mine inside, and that person on that video describes this as needing to replace the tank at that point. Well, I am going to try and fix mine and take you along on that journey. So first, I'm going to drain the pan, and in here I'm just siphoning using, this is drip line irrigation hose. I'll siphon it into this that I've been doing for a few days because I haven't time to work on this. Disconnect the gas line. Basically disconnect the straps here, the earthquake straps, and all of this up here. Shut off the inlet, water inlet right here, and take all of these off. And I'm going to see if I can flip this whole thing upside down and weld it. This is drained for the most part. And while that was draining, it took about 10 minutes just to siphon that out. I cleaned up from the last projects. Well, probably the hardest thing to do is get ready for the next project. So now I'm going to drain the main tank. This just turns 90 degrees. I'll hook the hose that I have here up to it. Connect here, outside of the plants. The water's not hot. It's been off for a long time. So in the process of this, every time this fills up, the pilot light goes out, and then it won't reignite. So every 8 hours, 12 hours or so, I would have to drain this out and then relight the pilot light. I have the hose going out into the bushes, and the important thing here is once you open that valve on the water heater, the water might not necessarily come out because of the vacuum. But if you go inside and open up the highest, if you have a second story, go to the second story, shower, but the highest valve you have so that air can go in, then it will start to flow. Now you can hear it draining. If this is not something you're doing on a regular basis, the water heater company suggests that you drain off 1 gallon or 2 gallons every month. So I've seen different time intervals, but what it's doing is just getting any of the rust or the buildup that's coming out of the water or that's dropping out of the inside of the tank, and it's taking it and just flushing it out of the system so it doesn't corrode or become corrosive inside the tank. If you have one, use a deep well socket on these and on these screws. It'll just zip right off in a couple seconds. Straps are off, gas is disconnected, turned the valve right here off before I disconnected it, 2 open-ended wrenches, and now we're just going to let it finish draining and then disconnect the water lines. While that's happening, I'll go ahead and disconnect the flue. That should just lift off, and then the water here will be free to pick up and lift out of there. Just crack this open. It's been a few hours for this to drain out, opening different valves, different faucets up in the house. But I think there it is. It's completely empty. So now time to take the whole thing down and flip it over and take this bottom ring off with these screws around the perimeter. and then see if I can get into where the burner is so that I can actually weld that. After disconnecting the water lines, I tilted it without that hose on there, and more water came out. So I reconnected the hose, and I'm just tilting the whole thing away from the wall so that I can drain all the extra water out of there. Now close the valve up. No more leaks. Okay, bear hugged it out of its little home right here. And we'll just start to take these off and see what I find underneath. This is the problem I thought I would have looking at this, is this connection here. It seems seam rolled. I don't think it's welded. So I'm gonna try and pry this piece out. If it doesn't come out, I'm literally just gonna cut it with an angle grinder and you know, then just spot weld it back in. But start with the angle grinder and try and pry this out. Well, I've worked on that. It's just not coming apart as easily as I want. Looks terrible for whatever reason. Anyway, so I'm just going to cut it with the angle grinder. I think that's going to be easier at the end of the day. Remove the 6 screws on this gas, I don't know, this cover. And then gonna unplug these. Then I can just see and make sure I'm not gonna cut through and hit the burner or any wiring. Well, it looks like the smart choice is, because that's welded to the bottom there, spot welded, not to have to worry about the burner. I'm gonna go ahead and disconnect this, pull the whole burner out. It just slides in to that piece there. Then I can cut the whole bottom out and we'll have access. Unscrewed this, that should be loose. I pull that down. The way this is all connected, it should just lift right out of there. Unscrewed this, that should be loose. I pull that down. The way this is all connected, it should just lift right out of there. And I'll unplug the rest of that so I can get it completely out of the way and then give you a look inside. Cut the hole. I left a little bit attached. Maybe that'll help me line it up. There we go. There's the tab. But my leak is right around here. So I think it's this section right here that's pretty bad. So I'm going to clean that up and then just maybe I cut that back a little bit so I can get a better connection there and then fill that. Okay, I've got it out of the garage, and this is the point I think most people would say, why not just get a new water heater? And I don't disagree. But $1,000, and maybe somebody that's, you know, I'd rather get a couple more years out of this rather than take it to the landfill. But I just flipped it upside down, and this is just the red mud that is in our water where I live. So there's tons of that pouring out. It's upside down. I've cleaned that up. Got to probably re-clean all that junk out of there, vacuum it. But then I'll be able to weld right around there. And I think at that point, reinstall it, see what happens. Okay, weld it up. I just want to get the job done. Tried to weld it. My welder's not going to do that. Just that very thin
metal like that. I can't get it turned down enough. So luckily I left this attached, and this will just flap down, and I'm assuming hit these, because that's all I had were some washers to hold the corners as they fall in, and go from there. So I've only bothered reconnecting the water just to see if there's a leak or not, and if not, if that didn't work, I can pull it out and go get a new water heater tomorrow. But I'll fill it up, put some pressure to it, and then see what happens. My weld didn't work. Well, I don't know if I try that again or if I just go get a new water heater. I'll think about it. So, okay, I really dug that out. Tried to get into where I think that drip is coming from. A lot of inconsistencies in there, but I don't know if I can keep digging or if I just try and melt some metal in there, see what happens. I have a crack and a blowout, and I'm pretty far past the boundaries of what I should be doing on a pressure vessel, but I'm gonna keep trying. So I put down a root pass, then a cap, and then frankly I just gobbed metal all over the top, so we'll see what happens. It's filling up. I have water going to the water heater, and just gonna see if it holds. I'm gonna go in and have some breakfast. Here's the final report. It's under full pressure, has been for 20 minutes, and not a drop of water. Where it's dark, it's just burnished from me using a wire wheel when I was cleaning it. But thus far, no problems. Was it worth it? I think so, because I did not want to give a water heater company another $1,000, because this was 2 months out of warranty. 2 months. And I did not properly drain it. I did not change the anode, which I should be doing every probably 2 years. And if you don't know about that, look it up. But every 2 years, replace the anode on your water heater. And this kind of thing probably won't happen. But 2 months, they timed it perfectly. Out of warranty, it started to drip. But I think I've got it fixed.